My name is Nathan Lawson.
My name is Hannah Lawson.
I serve in the youth worship, youth ministry, worship team, and the cafe as well.
I mean, it was a journey of coming to know Christ. I've known my entire life that He is love, He is compassion and mercy, and that He saves. I had seen it in my family, I'd seen it in the church I grew up in, but it wasn't personal for me because all I could see was hypocrisy in the world. I thought everything was black and white, and if I was supposed to accept Christ, then that meant I had to be a martyr on the spot, or that, I don't know, like heaven was gonna be terrible or something. Like it's just like a cloud that everyone floats on forever.
Like God's characteristics were defined by how Dad was, like all the time. So if he was happy, that's like how I view God, and if he was angry, that's how I view God. You know, whenever it was like hugs and love and all physical touch and affirmation, things like that, that was God, and how I viewed him. And then also, like when it was chaotic. And I don't remember a specific switch, but like he was one way and then he was just a completely different way, in a bad way. So, and that was, and there were some good moments. It was like really weird. It was like but in the good moments, like it didn't feel safe. It wasn't like I hate God. I never hated God, or I never misunderstood God, I never was like angry towards like God's ways, because really what I was like, just became like really apathetic and like I just didn't care.
No, I mean, I prayed every night for a long time because I was scared of going to hell. I mean, my parents just told me that I probably wasn't at the age of accountability yet, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know when I'm supposed to make a decision then. Got baptized when I was 12, and that wasn't necessarily a turning point, but it was a commitment of, like, no matter what happens, I'm not letting go of whatever faith is, whatever this is.
I didn't want to go through the trouble of what the Christian life really was, which was being known. You know? So like the more I grew in my longing for God, because God was distant, because God felt distant, he felt like not really, he didn't want to, because I didn't give him anything back.
Definitely the thing that I struggled with most was trusting him, because trusting him also meant trusting the church I grew up in, my family, what their perceptions or what their confessions of Jesus were. If their testimonies are true, then what does that make mine? I mean, seeing people at church like crying during worship and then a few hours later like gossiping or totally like backbiting people, and then like realizing that I do the same thing.
You know, and growing up, learning about like the grace and that God is there and he wants to meet you in your struggle, but I never felt like that was like God accepted that for me, because I didn't really just spend any time with him. It was kind of like a awkward long distance relationship with my heavenly Dad, you know?
It was super back and forth. There would be a few months in a row where I would try to start Bible studies with my friends and do different Bible reading plans on the Bible app and try to get out of my comfort zone and talk to different people in church, or like try to pray with people, meet up with some friends that I had who were becoming missionaries at the time, and all of that. And then there were other weeks where I just wanted to escape from everything just run away.
That whole years, it was just a downward kind of spiral of believing God does not want to be with me. And so I just didn't really bother giving him any time. I feel like I had a little bit of hope through the downward spiral of like my relationship with God through dad, because he came back, he was in our lives, but then it was a little bit of hope that I kind of had for myself. It's like, okay, now I can be with my dad, and that can maybe grow my relationship with God a little bit better. And at that time, like, I didn't talk to anybody. I mean, you probably remember, like, I was a super awkward guy, kid. But the only person that I could truly be known by, and also be loved by, like, I knew that, was Dad, 100%. So I told him everything, man. It was so great to just tell somebody all of my issues and struggles, and then know that, like, I'm gonna be loved and cared for. It was just like, that was it. And then he died. It was really hard to believe for a sec. Like, it just isn't real life. It's not. Yeah. I really believe, like, my whole heart, that God took Dad away so that I could get that relationship with him personally. And so I was just done, man. And so I was just talking with Brennan and other guys around me. There were some guys who pursued me, Jimmy Broderick for sure, and then Bobby Frazina too, like, just guys who's kind of been there to, like, plant the seeds. And so thank God God gave me the ability to just, like, be a little bit more open with them during that time. Yeah, just kind of got to rock bottom, decided to go to 10th hour because I knew I needed it.
Yeah, it was a point in my life where I just wanted to escape everything. And I was just graduating high school. I had no direction for what was next. And the most acceptable thing I could think of to do was to go through a discipleship program or, like, go on a mission trip somewhere. Maybe that would be the answer to all the questions I had and everything. And I heard about 10th hour on the radio randomly. It didn't make any sense. That was a little miracle. Yeah, I called them right away, and they said that they had one spot left for a girl, and so I signed up pretty soon after. Yeah, to escape from life, I was just working a lot, and so I had all the money I needed to.
There's a couple moments, but one that kind of sparked everything. It was early on, and I was trying to fit in with the program, and I remember doing one-on-ones with them, which is they just sit you down and they talk and see how you're doing. And it was the first one. Everyone took 30 minutes. Mine took 2 hours. And it was just the beginning. The first 30 minutes was like, yeah, I'm good and got some struggles. And Deanna says straight to my face, yeah. And it's such a graceful, kind of what you're talking about, an irresistible current that I couldn't help but run away from. And it wasn't Deanna, it was Christ calling in her face. I can see it now, but it was like, yeah, I understand, and I understand 100% that you're not telling us everything, and I accept that, and I really hope that you can feel comfortable to be honest with us and open. And I was like, oh gosh, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I have all these questions in my head, and I'm trying to figure them out, and I go to Deanna, and I'm asking her about everything, like, what's wrong with me? Like, I know that, like, God is in my life. Why don't I feel like this is right and everything? And there's a moment where she told me that all of these things with faith connected in my heart but not in my head. And so I would say it's also been a long journey of trying to get everything that I know is true in my heart, and I have faith that it's good. It's just not in my head.
I ended up just, like, spelling out sin, deceit. Dave and Deanna, they gave me a really good practice. So for me, in that season, what I needed was time with God. Remember the whole, like, God's away, and it's this long distance relationship, and he's wanting me to, I've kind of like reconnected with people a little bit, but like God's still like all the way over here. I haven't called him yet. I haven't gone to visit him yet. And so that's what they encouraged me to do. You need to go see your dad.
And so it's just been slowly realizing how gracious that Jesus is, what that means for how I view the world, how I view my family, how I view my friends and the people around me.
There's this little red bench in the trail, and it's kind of notorious at 10th hour, but it was this little red bench on the trail, and I would go and I would sit down. It was my bench for a season, and I would give God 5 minutes of my time for every morning for like a week, and then it turned into 10 minutes and 20 minutes. And they encouraged me to start with thankfulness. I think that's profound, because like what worship is and what surrender is, like how do we, like people talk about like surrender your life to Christ. What surrender is thankfulness. Surrendering my wants and my needs. And instead I'm doing the opposite and thanking you for what you've given me.
There isn't really a difference between like before and after I knew Christ, because I'm just slowly learning and knowing him more.
I finally went and visited my Heavenly Father, and I met him. And he was everything that everybody was saying.